Hello, my little ravens, and welcome back to a Pagan Rants on the chilling adventures of Sabrina. Today we'll be reviewing episode 3, Trial of Sabrina Spellman. Naturally, like all the rest of it, it starts off from where the previous episode left off, and Sabrina vomits from seeing the apparition of the Dark Lord that possessed her mortal principle. Naturally, they come back to this pathetic, rather wishy-washy murder storyline where Ambrose tries to find a way to make the murdered witch's boy's familiar talk, to which his aunts reply that it's impossible due to the fact no familiar will talk, in a way, because his witch is dead. Zelda callously says that the best thing for that poor familiar is to put him down and threatens to, well, she's offering, but it's clearly threatening to slit the iguana's throat. But Ambrose, protective of the thing, and I think trying to also find an excuse to try and see what it's like to have his own familiar, decides to keep him and find a way to make it talk. Spoiler alert, it never does. Anyway, there's trouble on the horizon for Wicca, and I'm not talking about the religion and the way of life, but this pathetic feminist organization that Netflix has created. For the full rant, see my previous videos. Anyway, Sabrina comes back after a day of school to tell her aunts what exactly has happened to cause trouble for Wicca, when her aunts confront her with something called the Infernal Summons. Of course! Daddy Satan is not happy that a girl is thinking for herself. Yay! Hilda breaks it to her that she has been sued for something known as breach of promise. Basically, Sabrina standing trial for running away from her dark baptism. Oh. And her aunts are on trial too. That's right. The guilty party is not just the person who ran away, but it's also her aunts due to the fact they are her legal guardians. Therefore, anything that Sabrina does, it's effectively their fault. And Sabrina asks, where is this innocent until proven guilty? To which Ambrose replies, in the witch world, it's guilty until proven innocent, which, by the way, it is not. Already, this series is making a mockery of justice, and I don't think it bodes well for the rest of the episode that this is occurring. I have seen other crime series that are making a better display of justice than this, I can tell you that. Anyway, Ambrose advises Sabrina to consult the help from a certain Daniel Webster. Apparently he is an occultist and a lawyer that specializes in witch law. Oh! And he conveniently lives in the same town as they do. Of course, why would you want to travel a town or two ahead to try and enlist the help of a lawyer that might exactly save your soul? Anyway, this episode also highlights that this creepy high priest of the Church of Night and Miss Wardwell, or should we by this chance say maybe Lilith, due to the fact he calls her a demoness, and quite frankly, the only known prominent demon that I know is Lilith. And who else would the devil want to enlist the help of in order to keep an eye on this girl? I mean, he's not just going to send an average foot soldier, is he? Anyway, Sabrina goes to visit this Webster dude. And Webster initially says no. Mainly due to the fact that he did some terrible crap in the past. And that he finds probably no way to forgive himself for it and doesn't want to bring another one into his troubles, I suppose. Naturally, the series also cuts to Harvey and his verbally abusive father. Tried to rake up some more sympathy points for the boy with literally no three-dimensional character to him. It's not the actor's fault. I want to clarify, it's not the actor's fault. It's It's the writers. It's always been the writers. Quite frankly, I'm not surprised. Anyway, this trial is commenced by the three twisted ones, known as the Infernal Three. And Sabrina, if guilty, will burn for 333 years in the pit. Which goes against everything that Father Blackwood said to begin with. If you remember, when Sabrina first asked, when she had natural conflictions about taking the dark baptism, she asked if they were going to go to hell, and Father Blackwood clearly said no. That witches were spared from it. So how in the hell is this going to work? Because this is going against everything else. If Sabrina is, despite the fact she is a half-witch, which means maybe the half-mortal part goes there, but hey, her half-witch part shouldn't be the one who has to go into the pit. And her soul is still half-witch, so there is obviously a conflict here, and I don't think the writers actually thought this one through. And do you know what's even worse? These writers had the nerve to compare marriage with the dark baptism. All due to the fact that the only Halloween costume that Sabrina had in store was a old-fashioned white gown that could have been mistaken for a wedding dress. And then after the Halloween/birthday party, she ended up going to the dark baptism in this dress. It's ridiculous. Naturally, Webster points out the fact that there was no agreement, there was no bridegroom, which got a whole lot of sneers and disgusted gasps, but a whole lot of laughs from me, and therefore, by de facto, there is no contract. Quite frankly, this whole thing is a piss take, and the funny things that are there, I'm just going to take, because quite frankly, not only is this a mockery of justice, but it really does not show the justice system. But then again, this is Satanism. This is supposed to be what? Satanism? And quite frankly, before we continue, Satanists actually do follow the law. So before you decide to think, oh yeah, but Satanists, they worship the devil, they don't follow natural laws. Yes, they fucking do. Okay. I swear, I like shoe on head. I think I should get myself a button that I should just press because I'm repeating the same mistakes over and over and over again, and it's really starting to bum me out. And this is only the episode 3, and we still have 7 episodes to get through. The only good parts that really highlight this episode is where all these dirty little secrets come out. For example, Sabrina's father and her Aunt Zelda had promised her to Satan moments after her birth. Well, that's what is literally said. They took her to the woods, put her on the altar, and apparently her father signed her name into the Book of the Beast. Which explains why Zelda and her aunt, especially Zelda, because Hilda had no idea about this, was so determined that she should go through the dark baptism, all because they had already pawned her off. Actually, the demoness Wardwell then tries to torment Webster with the ghost of his murdered daughter to taunt him into trying not to save Sabrina. Harvey relives a tragic moment, blah blah blah. The Wicker girls find back at this funeral of the murdered warlock. Ambrose's love life is suddenly explored, which I thought was quite a kick to everyone's balls, whether it's theoretical or literal, because instead of actually going deeper into why this warlock was murdered, what he was murdered by, and everything else, no, they decide to explore a gay relationship. Explore it, but also solve this fucking murder, please, for the love of everything that's holy. Anyway, Zelda's secret is not the only one that comes out. Apparently, Aunt Hilda went with Sabrina's mother before her father and Zelda took her to Satan, to a Catholic church to have Sabrina baptized. Therefore, in the original contract between Satan is rendered null and void due to the fact there is a conflict on her soul. There are two parties vying for Sabrina's soul. The so-called false god, which is the Christian god, and the Dark Lord himself. I don't know about you guys, but every time I hear the Dark Lord, I think it's Voldemort talking. And quite frankly, I would have preferred the series with Voldemort than with fucking Satan. Anyway, Satan suddenly realized that he cannot just get what he wants, so he summons both the prosecution and the defense into the inner sanctum to make a deal. Sabrina gave him no choice. Well, frankly, his Aunt Hilda and her mother gave him no choice, because they're the ones who participated in the baptism anyway. And apparently, the result was Sabrina didn't get 333 years in the pit. She can still retain some part of her mortal life, but in the weekend she's going to go to rip off Hogwarts instead. Which, if I remember correctly, is the Academy of Unseen Arts. Which I have already reviewed, and it doesn't get any better from here, I'm afraid. But Webster saved her. He redeemed himself. Yes, he told Sabrina everything about how he made the wrong deal with the devil, how he won cases only, he defended cases where the most despicable people were going to be set free, and in one case he set free a horrendous, disgusting serial killer / rapist who one day broke into Webster's house and caused the same atrocities to his own daughter. Dutch have a word for that, well, a phrase for that, and that's called stank for dank. Literally translated to shit for thanks. But after that, Webster became more cautious when it's the devil. So he ensured that Sabrina and her aunts played to the same game, that they realized who in the hell that they were dealing with. But everything ended up being okay. Hilda and Zelda's powers were restored. The youth was restored. And everything was alright, apart from the fact that Hilda ended up with an excommunication from the church due to the fact that she participated in a Catholic rite, which is forbidden under the laws of the Church of Night, apparently. Why? Because obviously these satanic witches have to be the enemy of the false god, and pointing out all of Christianity's faults. Quite frankly, this episode was the most exhausting and yet one of the most entertaining that I had to watch. I didn't feel like throwing the television out immediately. Let's leave it at that. This show was decent. This episode is decent enough to at least give it a try. You can see the faults. You can definitely see the horrific inaccuracies that is present within it, but at least it's one of the most bearable episodes that is in this entire series. And I know that's not saying much for this series, but quite frankly, I found it refreshing that I didn't feel the urge to commit a horrific act of vandalism on my boyfriend's TV. So I'm very happy about that, and so is he. Anyway, I hope all of you have enjoyed listening to this particular rant. I will admit it just spirals even more out of control, and I cannot guarantee that I will be mentally sane after watching all of this. But anyway, my little ravens, I hope you still have enjoyed yourself. Like, subscribe, comment. You can leave whatever comment you like, just as long as it's appropriate to the content. And I hope you all have a pleasant day. And I'll see you in the next one, because once this is over, I swear it will be worth it. It would be an energy release. So, this is Raven Rose signing off.